And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to your favorite day of the week. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Friday afternoon by Pete Zayas of the Laker Film Room podcast. It is one of those days where, Pete, you hopped on here, you looked at the rundown, and you're like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
This feels good going in. So we're going to wind up diving right in. But Pete, how you holding up, bud?
I mean, I was better before that game last night. The first 3 minutes of that game last night, they were not ready for that game. And the hell was that? But I'm doing all right overall. You know, it's got a back-to-back. Love that about basketball against a tanking Indiana team. I guess that, you know, our Lakers don't play everybody tonight, but generally irritated with how they came out to start that game and how it went. But how you doing, man?
Yeah, it was one of those weird things, Pete, where I don't want to say that they were taking the Nuggets lightly, right? Because why would you? You know? But it was also like, I don't know. And once again, like their struggles were on offense, you know? Like now they weren't getting many stops either, but I think that had a lot to do with the fact that they were in transition and semi-transition and stuff like that, which is not a spot where you want to put the Lakers defense. But like their offensive approach was just, all right, you, me, let's just like walk to our spots. It was just like, guys, this is supposed to be a playoff preview, and hopefully it isn't. So today on the show, though, we're going to be talking about macro and micro. So we're going to start by discussing this topic that I've had bouncing around in my head for, I would say, a good little while. And it's one of those things that like it's just stuck there. And I have long thought, like for the vast majority of my career, I have thought that the most important role players in the sport are wings, 3-and-D wings, right? They are versatile defenders. They take the two most important shots the two most sought after shots, right? Corner threes and dunks, you know, and because of all of that, that's where you want to use all of your resources when it comes to team building, and especially around Luka. But then, like, I don't know, over the last month or so, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm sick of watching DeAndre Ayton, but like I've also been thinking a lot about, is center the most important for a Luka specific team? So we're going to have that conversation. I've also noticed recently, Pete, in terms of the micro and the basketball that we're actually watching right now, it feels like LeBron and Austin have kind of switched in terms of their prioritization in the offense and usage and stuff like that. I don't know if that's been indicated statistically, but it just kind of feels like it seems like a more concerted effort to get LeBron going in these games than it has been to get Austin going. Seeing if you agree with that kind of takeaway, and if you agree with the approach, if that is indeed what they're doing. And then finally, Pete, I'm going to go full old millennial. And I'm sick of watching the Lakers complain to the referees.
Okay.
So
we're gonna complain about complaining. That sounds fun.
We're gonna yell at the clouds, you know, to wrap things up here. And then, as always, if you guys have any questions or comments over the course of the show, hit us with them, and we will get to as many of them at the end as we can. But yeah, let's start, Pete, with the center versus wing conversation. And I'll sell you on centers and then see where you stand on this. So to me, a Luka center is a pillar of the offense. They're going to be involved in basically every set during Luka ball, right? They're going to set a screen. You need them to be able to convert above the rim, You need them to be able to probably have some touch around the rim as well. You would like to have some creator chops just in case the team starts giving up the short roll. And then defensively, that center is going to have to make up for what Luka doesn't bring on that end of the court. He's going to be playing in a conference with Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, and so on and so forth. Utah's up and coming front court, they're going to be daunting next year. So, like that's kind of where I stand in that. I just think that has to be, I think, priority number one because of everything that player is going to have to do. Where do you stand on this one?
So I think big picture, getting great play 48 minutes out of your center spot on a Luka Doncic team is, I'm right there with you. You laid out all of the reasons why I very much agree that even more than your normal team, that it's just a little more accentuated on this team. I do think there's an interesting conversation on how you get there. And if that needs to be just one player, or because the player that you just described makes a lot of money that can do all of the things that you just
That's
described.
Anthony Davis, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Also, this season serves a purpose that touches on this discussion of like, well, who are some of the role guys that fit alongside Luka? And I think Jackson has been a fantastic fit alongside him. And so
I think he should start.
Yeah, I think there's a good argument for that going forward, right? I also don't think that he can be our 36-minute a game center that holds it down the way that you're talking about. That I think a lot of factors point toward a sort of Gafford and Lively approach, right? I think that Jackson and somebody in that Ayton spot, not Ayton, but somebody who kind of covers for Jackson's weaknesses, does some of the things on the list that you just mentioned that Jackson doesn't do, that collectively the Lakers have that spot covered for 48 minutes. That I agree with you on the substance of what you're saying and like how important the position is. I just think that from a resource allocation standpoint, getting there between two players, especially considering we already have one of them that I think is a really good fit with Luka, I think that's a more efficient way of going about it rather than trying to consolidate that all into one player.
Yeah, I basically am looking at it like $60 million, 60 to 70 million bucks needs to be allocated to the center spot. Meaning like either you have one $40 to $50 million player and a $20 million. Like, I just think you need to be like the Lakers have basically done this thing with Luka since he got there, where it's like take an average center and make him good. And we've seen that work with Jackson, where I think Jackson is I think Jackson deserves some credit because I think he's become a little underrated in terms of like his overall skill set and stuff like that. I'm really impressed with the improvement that he's made so far as a Laker. But it's been kind of like what they did with Anthony Davis in the defense, where it was like, AD, this is you, bud. That half of the court, that's all you. Whatever we're going to do defensively, it's just going to be you being great and making up at times for some less than great players. And I think I'm at the point here where rather than kind of saddling a player's strengths, I would like to compound them. Like, rather than having Luka be asked to turn Jackson into a starting caliber big, which nobody is saying that Jackson has to start, but like, I would like to see Luka get a 30-ish or even 40-ish million dollar a year center and have that player become elite, so long as the fit is there. And I know that we're talking about allocation of resources and stuff like this. And I think that's where the debate comes in, is like, I'm of the opinion that this comes first above like the wings and the point of attack defender and stuff like that. Like this to me has to be the first box checked this upcoming summer. Obviously it's not all up to the Lakers because you're probably trading for this player or hoping it's like Isaiah Hartenstein, right, is one of those names that the Lakers are kind of hoping shakes free because of OKC's cap situation. maybe you throw a max offer over at Jalen Duren. I think the Pistons,
He's not going anywhere.
match that pretty happily. If anything, I think that's a discount. It becomes a discount for the Pistons because the Lakers can't pay him as much as the Pistons technically can. And so they'd be thrilled about that. Maybe it's Walker Kessler, whoever it is, but the Lakers, to me, I think they're like item number one this summer has to be the center spot. Make the case though for like, because it doesn't sound like that is item number one for you though. So what would be item number one for you this summer?
Two-way perimeter players, the best ones that you can get. And those are the most expensive players to acquire aside from stars. Those are the two, like the real assets to me on this team. The real places to spend is either on an elite second player to put alongside Luka and or two-way perimeter talent. Now there are some centers that I do like for sure, but again, I like Jackson. His cap hold is $4.5 million. I think that if you're asking him to give you 20 minutes a night on next year's team, even if you don't want to do any small ball next year, you need like a 28-minute a game player in that spot. That like, do we need to pay all that for Walker Kessler and not have anything left over to address the wing spot? Like, I love Marcus Smart, but he can't be our best two-way perimeter guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That can actually contribute on both ends of the floor. And I actually think some of those guys are going to be available in a rare circumstance over the course of this summer as teams get pressed up against the apron. That, to me, a lot of the cap space and a lot of the picks between Jackson, I think, covering about 20 minutes of good basketball going forward, and the massive need the Lakers have on the perimeter, like that to me is a clear, bigger need, I think.
The other part of this that somewhat complicates this is like, where are we slotting Austin in this, right? Like, if you're saying going into the summer that Austin is your second best player, does it make as much sense to allocate the resources and the immediacy of the offseason to working to get another, like a player who slots in between Luka and Austin? Or does it make more sense to address, something that isn't as much on the perimeter? Now, if you look at Austin as the third best player on the team, then yeah, I would say that trying to go out and get a stud perimeter defender who can also knock down shots and stuff like that. Like, the thing to me I've actually liked what Marcus has done on defense this year. I don't think it's a coincidence that he is a part of all of or most of the Lakers' most productive lineups.
I want him back. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And yet, like, down the stretch of that game, ball finds its way to Marcus Smart, and it's like, I don't want Marcus Smart taking the two biggest shots of the game, and so like that player that we're talking about here is somebody who brings what Marcus has brought defensively, but is also like, hey, you're gonna knock down that corner three. Yeah. And like you're saying, that's a very expensive player, but like, would that player be like, is the goal here? Would your goal here be to find that player and have that player be better than Austin, however we want to frame that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do different jobs. For one, we're in kind of a spot, in my view, in that I don't believe in Austin as the second offensive engine on a championship team. I think that I believe in Austin as a good overall basketball player on a championship team. But I think that second offensive engine job, that's Jamal Murray, right? That's going to be Stephon Castle and or De'Aaron Fox on the Spurs. That's going to be Detroit doesn't have that. Detroit doesn't have that, and I think that's going to bite them. But that's Tatum and Brown. Right? This is a really high bar that you can really like Austin Reaves as a player, and if you go into battle with that as your idea, as him as your number two guy, but that might not be an issue to resolve this offseason. Because like, to me, there's no version of the offseason that not retaining Austin makes a lot of sense, and so the job that slots between Austin and Luka is actually, like, what Marcus does is pretty different than what Austin and Luka do. And he's a great example of, like, I want Marcus to be the backup of the guy where the ball swings into the corner, that he brings a lot of what Marcus does, but we're like, all right, that's Mikal Bridges knocking that down, or whoever the name is, right? Like that can take that shot and contribute a little more on the offensive end. But yeah, I think Marcus's success kind of reveals that type of player is really useful on a Luka team, and we could use like one or two more of them.
Yeah, and that's because we're talking about this as Smart being the point of attack defender. You also need a big wing defender. Like you need basically, what Jake has done has been really good, I would say, for $6 million a year.
Yeah, he's a backup.
But he's exactly. And so like when the ball rotates over to Jake, like last night he played, what was it, 10 minutes? He got benched because he was unwilling to shoot.
Yeah.
And whoever I guess it would be this player is probably replacing LeBron. Like you have to get a pretty damn good player to replace LeBron here. I could understand that being their top priority. I think what it really kind of comes down to, Pete, is like it's kind of like the draft where you have three needs essentially, right? You have your point of attack defender, you have your wing, and you have your center. And whichever player shakes loose, like whatever best player shakes loose at any three of those spots, I think that's the path that you need to go down.
I think that's exactly describes the Lakers mentality. They talk about optionality, right? That's where it comes from, is that this is not a circumstance where the Lakers are going to the free agent store and being like, okay, I want you, you, and you. Here's my number two guy. Here's my two-way wing. Here's the bigger wing. Here's our center. Yay, we get to go home, right? There's a level of like, part of how they've set themselves up is they believe there are several teams that pay too much for their roster this year, that they want, if those teams want to be able to make moves, and they will want to make moves, they're actually going to have to get rid of somebody because they're pressed up against the aprons. That the Lakers are one of the only teams that are really positioned to pick up on that. But that is sort of a scavengers type of, like, I was good at the scavengers rebounder, right? I was a pretty good guard rebounder. And what I would do is I'd watch you two dummies jump and bang into each other, and I just watch where the ball was tipped off of while you did all the work, and then I'd get the scavenger rebound, right? There's sort of a scavenger's way of building a team in the way that we're talking about here, of like, well, whatever circumstance, is it Bridges in New York? Is it Suggs in Orlando because they got to extend Anthony Black? We don't know, but whatever it is, we can kind of go down that road. But I do think that's what we're set up for.
My only kind of large scale, and this is a very different conversation, so we don't necessarily have to pursue this point, but like my only concern there is I kind of look at that approach kind of like the expansion draft, right? Where like those teams tend to not be very good if that is how they're built, because you aren't getting any team, any player that could legitimately win you a championship. That's going to be really difficult for that.
That's normally true, Anthony, but you just brought up Hartenstein, right? He just won a championship in a row. But that's what I'm saying, is that that is their calculation, is that there are several players that are actually, like Lou Dort just won a championship. There are several dudes that are like, this is a high-end player, and it's just the financial circumstances of the team. If the team could keep him, they would. They just can't do it under the current salary cap system. We see this in football a lot, right? Where it's like the Vikings just let Jonathan Allen go. Yeah, exactly. And like, would they like to keep Jonathan Allen? Of course they would. It's just a numbers game at this point. And so, but yeah, there is a certain amount of like a little bit from there, a little bit from there. And now, are you even a cohesive team if that's what you're doing, is just sort of scavenging off of what other teams do? So going to be tough over the course of this summer. But I think more talent is available than people realize.
Hopefully. Let's talk about the basketball that we're actually watching right now. And do you agree with the premise, Pete, that I feel like LeBron has become a more central figure to it's still Luka, right? Like Luka is still the North Star. So we'll just set Luka off to the side. But if you just look at kind of Austin's usage of late, right? Like I think he had like a 15% usage rate last night. It has dropped fairly precipitously compared to where it was at the beginning of the year. And now like it's kind of apples to oranges because they were like first they didn't have LeBron and then it was working LeBron back in. He was getting into shape and stuff like this. So I don't know how much of this is actually like the plan all along versus the necessity to get LeBron to this point healthy. But have you noticed that, that LeBron has become a bigger part of the offense than it's been a bigger part of the offense than I thought he would be. Like I thought he was going to be kind of not a catch and shoot wing, not a 3-and-D wing or anything like that. But I had always kind of it seemed to me that the kind of clear pecking order was going to be Luka, Austin, LeBron. Now I kind of feel like it's kind of switched a little bit where it's Luka, LeBron, Austin.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't expect it to be otherwise, I guess. And that's why, remember when we did our progress reports, I was like, I'm grading Austin as the third best guy on the team. Like he's the number 3 on this team that, yeah, he stepped into number 2 responsibility and on ball, but that's LeBron James, man. I always expected him to be doing LeBron James things as he's always done while also being able to play off of the ball. But also last night, they both took 11 shots. They took really good care of the ball. LeBron had 8 assists to 1 turnover. Austin had 7 assists to 0 turnovers. So from an on-ball standpoint, LeBron did this in 5 fewer minutes, but they both had comparable attempts. Luka took 24 shots last night, and then the distribution in last night's game was pretty even from everybody else. 11, 11, 10, 9, 9, 6, 6 are the shots for everybody else. So it's sort of like Luka is the hub and everybody else distributed. And that is sort of, I think it's a 2A, 2B type of approach. The one distinction I would say, Anthony, is they've given LeBron his own unit, and Austin doesn't have that. LeBron's starting the second quarters by himself.
Maybe that's what I'm noticing then. That's a
I think that plays a big part of it, is that if you gave Austin the ball for 6 minutes a half, he'd probably have 15 shots instead of that. Now, I think Austin's going through some struggles in other ways, and everybody's trying to figure out what their roles are. And then the Ayton stuff is all playing within this as well. But I think to a certain degree, but like on a lot of these games, LeBron's like scoring 20 points, 22 points, 18, right? I don't see LeBron really having super high usage either, I guess.
No, I don't think it's high in a vacuum. I think it's just a little higher than I thought it would be. And like the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because I actually like this approach more, where LeBron is a bigger part of the offense than I thought he was going to be. And for me, it's like the way that I've seen this play out from my vantage point has been like, all right, LeBron worked really hard in the offseason to try to become a catch and shoot threat, and it just didn't work. Whether it's because of his legs, whether it's because of where his body is, the lack of conditioning that he had because of the issues that he had in training camp and preseason, and he's now catching up. Whatever it is, I think LeBron really tried to work hard at becoming a better catch and shoot threat, and it just didn't play out that way. And now it's like, all right, well, if that isn't going to work, I think Austin is just a better shooter than LeBron. And so, like, because one of those 3 guys has to become the catch and shoot threat. And like, to me, Austin is the more natural catch and shoot threat than LeBron is. And that to me is where I think we've seen this process kind of alter course a little bit here, where it's like, all right, we tried to have it be LeBron. We tried to have him focus a little bit more on defense. We tried to have him focus a little bit more on as a tertiary threat or a catch and shoot threat. And it just didn't work out to the extent that we thought it was going to. Now let's try to alter course. And I actually, I'm not saying this as a criticism at all. I think it's the right decision to arrive at. How do you see that process?
I guess I don't agree that it's a course alteration. I think this is always what it was going to be. Okay. Where I think LeBron working on his catch and shoot jumper is just sort of in addition to being the LeBron James that he's always been. I never started from a point where it's like, oh, this is the year that we shift from Austin being completely on the ball to now. I think LeBron is way less of an off the dribble threat than he was in previous seasons. And a lot of that on-ball initiation is happening out of the post, a lot more of it than previous years. But I always expected the ball to find its way back to LeBron as the second guy. And I've always viewed him as the second star on this team to Luka, and Austin being able to play off of that. And I think there's still plenty of room to grow as sort of a 2A, 2B type of thing. But the Austin as the number 2 guy and kind of ascending into that seat, I don't see that until possibly next year. And then there's the whole talk that we just had about, the wisdom of doing that in the first place. But yeah, I don't think that they've necessarily altered course and then we're like, oh crap, LeBron can't shoot, now we got to do this instead. I just think that LeBron's worked his way back into a way better physical shape than he was to start the season. And then obviously he missed the very start of the season. So, but the games that they shared, I think that's a different version of LeBron than the one that's playing right now.
Yeah. The final part of this is like with LeBron, like as we see this 2A, 2B thing. And I think like the nice thing about a 2A, 2B situation is that some games it'll be an Austin game, some games it'll be a LeBron game. And one of the things that with LeBron, like in those, LeBron is the 2A option. I still think there's a whole bunch of meat in the post that the Lakers like are just not getting to with Luka and LeBron. That just feels like, I don't know, again, boomer me, I guess, but like I just feel like, those guys as hubs in the offense operating out of the post where they're both a dribble away. Cause the problem, like we'll see this is always noted by, the people in the chat on Offside is like, when was the last time the Lakers got the ball into the paint? When was the last time they when the offense really stalls out? It's like, when was the last time the ball got inside the 3-point line, right? Yep. And to me, in those moments, like when we used to watch like the Phil, Shaq, Kobe Lakers, in those moments where the offense was kind of stalling out, you would always just see Phil go like, all right, stop fucking around. Let's get Shaq the ball in the post. Let's get the ball to our Cat 5 Hurricane down there. And let's let that guy go to work, and realign the offense. And I think I mentioned this on the pod last night with Raj. Was I think Luke Kennard sets can kind of do that for the offense. But I really think like option A here has to be, all right, let's get the ball to LeBron in the post, to Luke in the pitch post, stuff like that. Have you seen anything in the tape that you're watching and the efforts to try to get those there?
Yeah, I've been happier with their effort to get the ball into the post this year. They've done it more often. I don't think they have nearly enough movement off of the ball. Now, there are 2 ways to play. I think a lot of times we can see the ball go into the post and everybody stands there and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, set a screen, do something. Why is everything so stagnant? But the reason, and this is true in off of the dribble attacks as well, the reason guys hold their spot is it's predicated on the guy with the ball can win the one-on-one, right? And if he goes left, we're all going to react this way to the help that comes because the help's going to come from this way. If he goes to his right, the help's going to come from that way. But you're paying attention to that guy, however he attacks, you either hold your spot or you react off of that. And so you have to wait. Right. You don't set the screens because then you end up jumbling the kickout passing lanes, right? But it's predicated on the guy being able to win his one-on-one in the first place. That LeBron is having a harder time more and more. Last I saw, he was in like the 27th percentile in terms of post like efficiency as a scorer himself. I would love to see them run more split cuts, more we throw the ball into the post, and then it is that off-ball movement version that isn't just predicated on, oh yeah, this guy's going to beat him one-on-one as a scorer. Because a lot of times for LeBron these days, that's now a fadeaway. Every once in a while, he'll get a drop step to the basket, but you're still not getting that penetration, even getting the ball to him triple threat wise in the post. That we need to run more action off of the post. That I agree that they need to run and play through there because they're not going to be beating a lot of people off of the dribble, but just standing there, it's not enough.
Yeah, and this is where Luke Kennard, I think, plays a big role in this, right? Because you mentioned split cuts and stuff like that. I actually think flare cuts should be a big part of this.
Flares, absolutely.
Like they need to do something to get because I actually think like that offense that is predicated on go out and beat your guy, that actually makes life a lot harder on the guy who has the ball there, whether it's Luka or LeBron, because it's like you have like if everybody is waiting to react and everything is predicated on what the defense does there. That gives the defense that upper hand to send the extra help there, to pre-shade over, because they know their guy isn't moving, whereas if you are running some of that stuff, the defense you can't have 10 eyes on the guy with the basketball. You have to now be focused, especially if you're guarding an Austin Reaves or a Luke Kennard or a Rui Hachimura. Like, you have to be focused on, is that guy getting to the corner? Is that guy going to be over here? Or if it's like Jackson setting that flare screen and then, diving hard to the basket off of that flare screen. Like, these are things that kind of read and react offense is great if you have like an Anthony Edwards who is consistently getting by his guy whenever he wants. But that isn't quite who Luka is. That isn't quite who LeBron is.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Anything else here, like on the like the final kind of aspect of this conversation with the LeBron Austin thing is like, I was really kind of hoping to get a look at what does the team look like with Austin as the secondary engine, and it doesn't make sense for them to do it while LeBron is on the team, but you also want to have some data in your back pocket as you head into an offseason where you might not have LeBron anymore. What have you seen, like Austin's struggles recently, kind of notwithstanding, because this isn't who he is. I don't think he is the player who is averaging.
I hate this.
You think
so? It's part of who he is. Yeah,
no, I think it's part of who he is. Yeah, I'm trying to even it out though, because I don't think he's this bad, but I also don't think he was the player who was average. Like Aaron Larsoul and he was like texting me, he's like, look at Devin Booker's numbers compared to Austin Reaves this season.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin is technically, like statistically, having a better season than Devin Booker is. And I'm like, okay, but yeah, in no world do I think Austin is Devin Booker though. And like, so I'm trying to figure out like who is Austin Reaves, because he's not the guy that I've seen recently kind of struggle the way that he has. I don't think he was like, I maybe I'm wrong, his camp is, I almost definitely getting a text from his camp because I said he's not Devin Booker. So I'm looking forward to that. But like, I just want to figure out like where this guy slots, because that is such a major part of this upcoming offseason. And so like, you build off that point though, like this is part of who Austin is, but like, where do you actually have, like, who do you think Austin is as a basketball player?
Yeah, so I think Austin, as I said earlier, is a really good overall basketball player. He is a good rebounder for his position. He takes a lot of charges. I think that he can contribute in a number of areas of the game that when you add that to a high level of on-ball play, I don't think he's as good of a shooter as you do. I think he's an okay jump shooter, but I think he's but he's an overall, like, he contributes in a lot of different ways that I think that is the correct sort of slotting of him on the team. As an on-ball player, I think one of the things that where I'm like, no, this is part of who he is that his game is very much predicated on getting separation. He's got to get away from you. He's not going to go through you. He's not strong enough to do that. He's not going to elevate over the top of you. He's faster and he can, make a bunch of shots around the rim that are super helpful, that once he gets there, he can convert. But there are a lot of times where he'll drive and think that he has a lane, but they cut him off and he has to pick up his dribble. And, he's got a bunch of tools too that he doesn't use, like a Nash dribble. He doesn't use a lot of back dribbles and things like that. He's always so forward, that he kind of gets himself stuck. And in these circumstances,
posture gets him in trouble. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but his head gets out in front of his feet.
That's part of what I mean with him being forward. And so his game is so reliant on, I'm going to get separation from you, then I'm going to hit the hole, which is great. That's one of the ways to win. But what he can't do is, if I didn't shake you, I can still bump you off, or I can rise up over the top of you. That when we're talking about the high-end guys, the number 2 type of level guys in the league, all of them can do that. Like Jalen Williams is the number 2 for OKC. That's a 6'9" wing with ball handling, with long arms. And if somebody sticks with him, he can still get a shot off in ways that it's harder for Austin. And so, like, what I'm seeing is a lot of like teams are pressing up on the perimeter and then playing all the way in a deep drop. The second basket of the game, or the second possession of the game, Austin missed a pull-up midi that I really liked seeing him take, because that was the open space. Jokic was dropped all the way back, but a lot of times Austin will just drive right into the teeth of the defense on that he missed the shot, and it was like, well, that's the first time you shot that in like 6 weeks. It felt like, or longer. That I
was really happy to see him take it. I was just like, oh, thank God.
I was too, and I really like Austin, and I really want him to be on the team and part of a long-term thing. But I think seeing him with clear, I don't know, we'll see. But I see a lot of the same thing in a lot of the games where he struggles.
I feel like you're getting right up to the moment of like saying something and then like kind of because
no.
All right, so I think with the LeBron Austin dynamic here, what I think has become I think the Lakers are hoping that Austin is capable of being that second engine, because if he isn't, like, no, you don't think so?
No, I agree I agree that there's a hope for that. I think that is part of the conceptualization of the next team but I think we're learning kind of where he can be at. But I agree with your premise. I so disagree with if we're trying to build a championship team. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I think that's what they're hoping, because if he isn't the second engine, does it make much sense to allocate all of those resources to a third engine?
Good question.
And like you said, I'm not sitting here saying like I don't want to see this guy get paid. I think there are plenty of teams out there, and his ability to oscillate between first and secondary or primary, secondary, and tertiary creator. Like, I think that's why he has the market that he'll eventually have. But to me, it's like you only have so many resources that you can use this upcoming offseason. We've talked about how important it is for the Lakers to get the kind of centers, plural, that they're going to need, and maybe Jackson's ascendance helps you in that regard, but you still have to get a starting caliber center in this brutal Western Conference of starting centers. Mm-hmm. You have to get the point of attack defender who is Marcus Smart, but also shoots. That's Kason Wallace. Like, that guy's good. That guy's gonna fetch a damn near max offer sheet when he's a restricted free agent. You're talking about, you mentioned the names like Mikal Bridges and Jaylen Brown and OG Anunoby and these guys that, like, that's also a player that the Lakers clearly need, right? Like the Rui who actually impacts the game when he doesn't have the basketball. Like, there's so many things that the Lakers have, and I know it's kind of like, well, there isn't much of a path that doesn't involve Austin this upcoming offseason, but I just don't know, like, I don't know how to carry out the offseason that the Lakers need to have while also paying Austin the kinds of numbers that I've seen thrown out there for Austin. It's really kind of difficult with him not being the secondary creator.
Who's going to pay Austin? Who has the money to pay Austin this summer?
So we were talking about this in the lounge Slack, and the two teams that like can, right, are they're Brooklyn and Chicago, and they both have 53 guards each. So I don't know who. But I also don't know if the Lakers are going to want to play hardball with Austin. So I don't know, like, does he sign like a 2-year, $50 million contract with an out after the 1 year to hit the free agent market with more teams that might need an Austin Reaves? Does he want to keep doing that dance? I don't know, but the people that I talk to are still like, he's going to get his max, and there's not much explanation beyond it. So it's like, I don't know where we stand here. Huh?
Again, I just say from who? Oh, they're just going to get a max from the Lakers?
That's the conversations that I've kind of heard. So I don't know.
I don't think he's going to get a max from the Lakers. We'll see.
Yeah. Last thing here, we're going to yell at some clouds really quick. But I don't know if you saw this, but Tim made this interesting point on Twitter the other day about JJ's conduct with referees. And JJ is, for the most part, pretty quiet with the refs. right?
Yeah,
like,
not a lot of technicals. Yeah, not a fire. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
He kind of lets his players do the talking, and I kind of wonder if this has to be an adjustment. Yeah, I kind of feel like Tim was kind of presenting it as this potential adjustment, especially with Luka, right? Because we still haven't gotten word that T has been rescinded. We're talking at 2:30 Central Time right now, so
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be, but we'll see.
yeah, I don't. It was a quick one, but I don't if because I've had people say who were there at the game last night that he called the referee a mother bleeper, and it's like, okay. You know what's funny about this, Pete? It's his second language. If he just cussed him out in his native language, he probably doesn't get as many T's. You realize the contempt the contempt that you have to have for the referee to know that you're going to say certain words. It's going to cost you money, might cost you suspension, going to cost your team points, and to still keep going back to it with your second language. Just say some shit in Slovenian, Spanish.
You know, if I were a ref,
languages.
If I were a ref and somebody said something to me in a certain tone in Slovenian, I'd have the whole like Kevin Hart and 40-year-old version. Like, I don't understand the words you're saying, but I'm gonna take it as disrespect, and I'm still gonna tee you up.
Well, that's what you got to do. Like, you got to do the polite, like, like have like say it with a smile. Like, it's like kind of like what Jen's always saying, how like whenever she gets her nails done and stuff like that, and the Asian women that are doing their nails, who knows what they're saying? They're saying it nice though, so they could be saying anything.
It ain't good stuff. Yeah, no, I know someone whose family owns a nail salon, and yeah, that fits that. Yeah, no.
Right. That's got to be
bad.
Luka's approach.
Yeah.
It's like he's just got to say it like in a nice tone in his native tongue, and maybe he won't get as many T's. But like going back to the JJ Redick thing, I kind of think that JJ has to start getting involved here. Like, tell his guys, tell Luka, tell LeBron, tell Austin, tell the whole team. All right, guys, refs fucking hate us. They do not like refereeing, because I think it does cost the Lakers calls. I think
that's fair.
Yeah, I think JJ needs to talk to his guys and be like, guys, enough.
Mm-hmm.
Enough. I will handle it, right? Go back to like rec ball, where it's like only coaches talk to the referees.
Well, here's the thing, though.
In that manner.
Don't make promises that you can't cash, because like the calls that Luka, some of the stuff he wants to complain about, I'm not taking that on as the head coach, being like, every little thing is, and then you stand and watch them run back in transition defense while you're complaining to the ref, and now it's a 5-on-4 type of thing. Like, yeah, it's got to be. There has to be a certain level of like, we all need to freaking shut up for sure. But I actually do agree in a broader sense of like, he has to take a little bit more of that on while also delivering that. And y'all need to freaking shut up.
Yeah, that's a bigger point.
I think that's a good point.
Because I don't know, man. Just speaking strictly as a fan, not from whatever weird spot we find ourselves in life right now with this relationship that we have to this team. Strictly as a fan, is it fun for you to watch the Lakers when they're like? It's not. I find myself like I find myself like angry watching them when all of them every play palms up, yelling at the referee, whining about something, and meanwhile it's like in the middle of an 8-2 run. It's like, guys, you're losing. You like shut up and win. But like speaking strictly as a fan, is that like is that where you're at?
Oh no, yeah, no, that's very high up there on the. I'm not a big complaint about the refs person in general, and so if that's just sort of your default, like I just roll my eyes at that. I think it's I don't want to say that like good teams don't win that way, because I've seen plenty of good ass Laker teams just fucking not be able to shut up about the refs, but this group takes it to certainly a different level.
Kobe used to do that thing where he would shoot and he was like hey, right? Like it was yeah. And I almost kind of wonder if that is what Luka needs to do instead. Like, instead of complaining after the play, make it known while it's happening. Because like it's just anything other than whining, not getting back on defense,
Yeah, the
giving up.
game's still going on. At least wait till the dead
Like-
ball.
Yeah. Like that's the part is like, guys, game's over there.
Yeah, there's still a game
You
going
know,
on, man.
like it drives me nuts. All right, so let's go ahead really quickly. We have a couple of minutes here at the end of the show to answer some questions. Yeah, all right. So Laker Rob, this is back when we were talking about like the wings and stuff like that. Peyton Watson is a name who comes up. I just think Denver makes the Lakers wait as long as they can possibly wait, and then signs him, and then figures out some other way to work out their cap anyway. So maybe that means you get access to a Cam Johnson. Maybe that means you get access down the road to a Christian Brown. But I don't think the Nuggets are going to let a stud young wing like Watson just walk to the Lakers. Where do you got on there?
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the case. But I do think it shakes free some other guys, right? And again, that they're all in this bigger stew of like, let's say that shakes Cam Johnson free, or I don't think they'd trade Gordon. I'm like on Cam Johnson, but if somebody else picks him up, yeah, I know, right? But if somebody else were to pick him up, that's one less competitor for a different player type of thing. Or if we got Cam Johnson along with some draft compensation or somebody else for taking on Cam Johnson so that you could sign Peyton Watson, like that's, I would love to have Watson, but I agree with you that those RFAs are tough to get.
Gabe Rocks. So if AR can calm down and knock down his midi, he can be good. He also had a good burst to the rim when healthy. I think the midi opens everything up. Like, I just think, it keeps defenders closer to him. That allows him to get the separation, get all the way to the basket. But it's kind of like when players go under screens against LeBron and he hesitates to shoot the three there, and how that just wrecks the rest of his game and really kind of wrecks the rest of the offense. Like you only have 24 seconds, and of that 24, usually only have about 16 seconds, right, to actually run your set. And in 16 seconds, you're not going to get very many better shots than pulling up at the mid-range with any kind of separation. You just got to take it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love this point about calming down. I feel this way about Laravia, even though Laravia is in a bit different role, but both of them have a level of franticness that when they're at their worst, that it's like, calm down a little bit, slow down. And you don't have to, there is a right time to hit the gas, but if you hit the gas at the wrong time, you just run right into the brick wall. That Austin can do that sometimes. That one of the coverages the Lakers have struggled with, one of two coverages between the aggressive switching, but also the deep drop coverages, where somebody's aggressive on the perimeter, they fight over the screen, put back pressure, and then somebody's way back in the paint. That locks down the three-point line, and it locks down the paint in terms of where you have your defensive resources. But it leaves that mid-range wide open. And so, yeah, overall, those middies are not super efficient shots. But if it's unguarded and Austin can 1-2 step into that or pull up, like, I think he can hit half of those and be able to sort of get guys out of those type of coverages that he just doesn't choose to take that shot that much. That's why when he took those last night, I think he took 2 of them, I was like, all right, that's good. Keep taking that, get comfortable at that shot. And so I agree with Gabe Rocks here.
Yeah, that is the point. You made it there. It's like he can make enough of them to get them out of that coverage and get them back to a place where the Lakers can get back to the more efficient shots.
Exactly.
And I think that's the case with all of them, right? Like Rui was doing that earlier in the season. Ayton was doing that earlier in the season. Luka was doing that. LeBron was doing that. Like this is that age-old debate, with the analytics versus the hoopers, right? And I actually think it takes both. I think it takes middies to open up the analytically inclined shots.
Yeah, absolutely. That, like, the defense is going to win some possessions, and like you said, you only have 24 and really, in a lot of ways, 16 seconds to get into your shot. So a lot of times you're not going to get a better shot than that look.
Yeah. Oh wow, Markelle Fultz is back he's in the G League.
Hey, good for him. Hope he does all right.
Last one here. So not your typical Lakers fan writes, Erwin, I've seen reports that Giannis doesn't want to play with a ball dominant guard. It seems like he's taking shots at Luka. Anyways, who do you think we should go for? Andrew Wiggins and friends? So I don't think it was, I didn't take it as a shot at Luka. For one thing, it was like it was just Eric Pincus saying on Jovan's show that this is what he's hearing, and it's all out there. And by the way, you don't even need a report about it. We've seen what their offense has become. He's become a point center. That isn't because like he's not sitting there like that Simpsons character in the in the corner of the strip club. He's not sitting there like Luke Cornett, like no, I don't want all these possessions. Like no, he probably pushed a little bit. He wants to be that point center. That does complicate the fit with Luka quite a bit. I do think. And that's part of why I haven't really been all that thrilled about the Giannis Luka fit and the pursuit of Giannis. I don't know. We saw it with Damian Lillard where they had every reason in the world to run pick and roll with Dame with the ball and Giannis setting screens, and they didn't. So it's like that's my indicator. I'm good, like
no, totally.
No offense to Giannis.
I don't view a Luka Giannis fit as a pick and roll combination aside from in very specialty circumstances. I view it as having like the nastiest pair of driving to the basket combination in the league, right? Where Luka Doncic is your second best guy at getting to the basket off of the dribble. You've got 48 minutes of awesome shot creation there. But I wonder about the same thing from Luka's perspective, what his appetite is for, because can you play that roll man center that we were talking at the top of the podcast next to Giannis? You can't. He's always required a spacing pick and pop type of five. And so this is why, I think the Lakers are way more in on Giannis and way more capable of getting him through from an asset standpoint than people realize. And I understand people don't understand that. That's fine. I think it's way more of a conversation of should we use the 55 to 70 million of space that they're going to have to spend so much of it on Giannis, or would it be smarter to sort of pick off a guy here at 18 million and a guy here at 25 type of thing and get three players out of that, and what does the team look like there? So I definitely understand this perspective. Wiggins wouldn't be my guy, just he's north of 30 and making 30 million. But I do think that style of wing is what we'll be going for.
I think my most preferred outcome here is Giannis going east, going to the Knicks, and having OG or Macau shake loose, and the Lakers swooping in and getting one of those guys, because it keeps Giannis over there. I don't want him in the West. But then it gets the Lakers the wing depth even that they really need. So, and
they still have some money left over to address some other positions too. So
plus exceptions and plus the draft and stuff like that too. Also, really quickly, this isn't a question that I'm answering, but you had mentioned this in the chat the other day on Offside. And by the way, the chat has been really fun for these games. Offside.gg is where you can find that. But you had kind of mentioned in passing that you were like, I really hope that the Lakers use their pick this year. Why? I'm maybe I'm scarred because of the Jalen Hood-Schifino and Dalton Connect back to back. How that transpired is.
Well, I don't hope we draft a bust, Anthony. I want a good player.
I'm of the opinion here where it's like, can we just go out and get the wing that we really, really, really need, or the big that we really, really need? I understand the upside to drafting that player. That's the reason that you do it. And this is a really good draft class. But to me, it's I don't know. Fool me once, fool me twice. Sure. It's we're doing it again. I don't know. Where are you at there, though?
I think they need good cost-controlled talent on the roster. That as a function of missing on the Dalton pick and on the JHS pick, they don't really have that. Where I think there's high hopes for Thero. I think they really like Thero and think that they're really bullish on what he'll look like on the roster next year. That represents some of that, but the cupboard's pretty bare. And under this apron system, having enough of that on your roster, I think you can get some of that on buyouts, like Marcus Smart at $5.5 million this year type of thing. Yeah. But having those guys we're projected right now for the 22nd pick in the draft. So they don't make much money, that if you can get an eighth man or somebody to contribute right away, like I was watching big man tape yesterday, there's a big out of Kentucky that's a late first, early second guy named Malachi Moreno that I really like, just because he's a good like overall player that I think would play right away on this team, that would be like our 9th or 10th guy on this team, that if there's a wing that we need to trade picks for, and one of them needs to be this pick, and that guy's really good, like, hell yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? But I would love for the team to just have a little more cost-controlled talent on the books. Also, if you do draft somebody that hits, that has a ton of trade value. So if you still find yourself in a spot where you need to make a trade, it's like, this guy we drafted at 22 is really good. Him plus this guy and that guy. And now we could trade for a number 2. And maybe it's not Giannis type of thing. It's somebody else, that, I just think that it would be helpful, but it's not a requirement. I'm not saying, damn it, we need to hold on to this pick and don't trade it for anybody. And I share your appetite for being good right now. I just think that is a small piece that both short-term and long-term can help.
Part of my concern here, Pete, is I don't think JJ really trusts young players.
Yeah.
And that, like, because you're talking about like a center who could play right away. I don't know how confidently we could say that, given the way that JJ hasn't really wanted to play young guys. So
is there a lively? Yeah.
All right, last question here. Bashir Jama, is there a world where this summer goes to crap when we're talking about the 2027 summer in the same way, basically? There's a world where that happens, but I think in that world, Rob Pelinka wouldn't be given the opportunity for 27.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think there's any world where they're facing the same circumstances. I think there's a world where they completely biff this summer, and now we don't have the cap space going forward. And it's like way worse than having cap space in 27.
We signed Luol Deng into
out of retirement. Yeah. I think that's a world. I don't think they're sitting on the cap space in a year, though.
Yeah, I saw Yossi threw out the possibility of, like, if the Lakers just use all of their cap space to take on not like impact players, but for draft compensation, that's a way that you can kind of kick the can forward too. And I'm like, I'm not punting another prime Luka season. I'm not in on that plan.
Likewise.
All right, Pete, this has been an absolute blast as always. Anything that you want to plug before we get you out of here?
No, man, fun talking to you. The offside chat, like you said, it's been super fun. Offside.gg/beta. It's still in beta testing. Talking with Jay, one of the founders, it's very much in the development stage, and that's super exciting because we're kind of getting real-time feedback on what people like, what people want added, and trying to make it the best place that we can. So join us over there. This has been kind of like my first introduction to like the tech world, really, like in my adulthood. Okay. And it's been super because I've spent so much time in the content creation industry where it's like turning the Titanic to even pivot a little bit, whereas like we talked to Jay and we're like, yeah, can we do audio? And he's like, actually, no, it's not that difficult. It's just a matter of like lining up your audio with Pete's audio and everybody viewing and stuff like that. And getting that like immediate feedback and like being able to pivot as quickly as we have and be able to take feedback into account as quickly as we have. It's been super like, I don't know, almost inspiring. It was like, all right, this is a possibility. It reminds me back when I was like a blogger in the good old days where, all right, I'm a columnist when I'm starting out. Nope, I'm a podcaster now. Nope, I'm a vlogger now. Nope, I'm this. It's been really fun. It's invigorating. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, that's the word I was looking at. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode and this week's episodes here on the lounge. Let's see, the Lakers play today. No post-game show for that one, but we will be back on Sunday. I believe the Lakers play again on Sunday. And I'll be back here in the lounge to break that down. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Pete Zayas. Have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's, and we will talk to you again on Sunday.
Bye, everyone.